on my truck then. I could remember. And if it came in a sack, no stems, no seeds in a bag then. I could remember. And if it dripped from my wrist and it looked like it shined like blue then. I could remember. But oh yeah, I forgot to be a lover. If it wasn't for the 9 to 5 doubled up overtime then. I could remember. If it wasn't for the Sunday All-Star Weekend game, girl. I could remember. And if it wasn't for the dough, if Jesus showed, girl, you know that. I could remember. But so let me
Good evening and welcome to another episode
tell
of
me how could I ever
Captain
forget to be your love? Oh yeah, spend my
My
life.
co-host couldn't be here tonight. She had a family situation she had with. So shout goes out to Kawanda. Hope everything is okay. See you tomorrow night. Tonight we got a good one. This subject is going to be a little controversial, and we're going to probably ruffle a few feathers, but that's okay. That's what we're trying to do, is entertain and get that dialogue going. Okay, so if you want to make a comment, you can. The topic is sex power? So we're going to get right into this. I'm going to put up, if you would like to be a guest on the show, you can go to StreamYard.com/P as in Paul 4FUUCA87E. Create an account and then log into the podcast, and I'll invite you on so everyone can see you. So let's get started, family and friends. I want to send us another special shout out to my cousin, Stacy, who's like my sister. So let's see. We're on here live. Good evening, everyone. And again, the topic tonight is sex power. So now I'm going to read a scripture. Now, please keep in mind that the things that's said on this podcast is simply my opinion. It's designed for entertainment purposes. It's not to influence or persuade anybody or dissuade anybody from any of their personal beliefs. Okay, so please don't take this personal and start attacking me, which I know ignorance is ignorant, so a lot of you people will. So the question I pose tonight is sex power, and I believe it is. I have a relative, may she rest in peace, and she used to always tell me, hey P, pussy and dick make people do some of the strangest things, and I firmly believe that. Even to this day, I hold true to that it does. And we have to talk about how sex influences all of our lives. Okay, some people use sex for the pleasure of it. Some people use it for domination or for manipulation. So we want to kind of touch on the history of how this thing evolved, how it started and evolved. Okay, so once again, we this is not about pointing fingers. It's about just sharing a little knowledge, and so let's keep that in mind. I'm gonna keep this friendly and I'm gonna keep it peaceful. Okay, so I don't know how many of you that believe in the Bible, but I would like to read a scripture and I'm gonna surmise it based on my knowledge and understanding of the scripture, right? And this is relevant to this subject matter tonight. Okay, we're going to the book of Genesis, right? Um, chapter 3, verse 1. And it says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, okay, now I'm gonna touch bases on the sex thing, and then I'm gonna talk about the lack of accountability of the man. So we're not gonna bash women. We're gonna talk about the role that she played and the role that Adam didn't play. Okay, so yea, have God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruits of the tree of the garden, but the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden. And they emphasize the midst. And I don't know why these scriptures were composed about this like this, but midst is truly the emphasis of this whole thing, the midst, because everything is it's like the epitome. Everything evolves around this. Let's continue. In the midst of the garden, God has said, ye shall not eat of it. Now, remember, this is the woman talking. Neither shall you touch it, lest ye die. Now, I'm not making this out of a religious thing. I'm just quoting the scripture to make a point. Okay. So follow me here for a minute. Be patient. And the serpent, okay, which is Satan, said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. For God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. You get that? Let me read it again. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. So he's contradicting God's word right off the bat. Okay? Or trying to. For God does know that in the day ye eat thereof, that you should surely shall be, your eyes should be open, and you should be as gods, knowing good and evil. Okay. Before I go on, I want to pose this question to you. How do you become an entity that has no beginning or ending, and that something you create becomes equal to you by doing something that you instructed them not to do? That makes absolutely no sense. It's virtually impossible. Okay. So, you have to see the trickery and the deception in this, and how this woman was manipulated. And I'm going to show you how she was manipulated and how I believe she was manipulated, right? Okay. Because remember, back in this time, they didn't wear attire. They didn't wear shirts and clothes. They were naked. Okay. So Satan, who had been kicked out of heaven and placed here on earth, had powers, had a lot of influences on this earth, and only because God allowed it. Now, I'm not a minister, I'm not a preacher, so we're not going to get into the whole religious aspect of it. I'm merely trying to make a point. Okay, so here we go. And when the woman saw, that's the key word here. Another key word. When the woman saw, I don't believe the woman ever seen, because she walked through this garden for a long time. So if there was something for her to see, this wouldn't have been a new discovery just because Satan talked about it. Okay, we're talking about manipulation, and this goes to my topic tonight, right? The woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eye. There's some contradiction in there. Okay, let's go on. And a tree to be desired to make one wise. She took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. Okay, we're going to stop right there. Okay. Now, here's the thing. When we go back, well, I don't want to get into that because it takes the subject matter too long for me to get to my point, right? Here's the thing. God created Adam before he created Eve. He gave Adam dominion over everything that he had created, right? So that means he put him in charge. Okay. So Adam was the general of God's army here on earth. He created a helpmate. So she was going to be his soldier. Okay, so to speak. Just follow me for a minute, right? And what happened was Satan came along with all this trickery and conniving and manipulation. And I think what he did was he had sex with Eve. Okay, now a lot of people will try to refute this. This is just my personal belief. Okay. And what he did, now remember, this was the start of something that evolved into the mindsets that we subscribe to today. He manipulated her through sex. I think this was the first signs of infidelity. Okay. Now remember, it couldn't have been adultery because Adam and Eve wasn't married. The institution of marriage wasn't even incorporated yet. So when he did what he did, he influenced her to influence her husband. Now, Adam should have did what he was instructed to do, but he was influenced. So here again, here goes the double standard, because now it's not detailed what happened. So we can kind of fill in the gaps, okay? So what happened was, after she had sex with Satan, and he manipulated her and influenced her to believe that you will surely be God's if you eat of this, not knowing the consequences to follow her actions. He went home, and it don't even tell you that she went home. It just kind of skips. He had sex with her husband and manipulated him to eat of the fruit. Now, this is my point I'm trying to make. Is sex power? Of course it's power, because it has always been around from the beginning of time. It has always been a tool to be used to manipulate or control people. Okay, even to this day, with the world being the way that it is, let's throw this social media thing in here, because social media is kind of like the nucleus of society today. Okay, so you got all these women, and me and my co-host talked about this last night, that these women now, they don't want to work. They don't want education. They don't want to be in committed relationships. They want to exploit their sexuality. That's the reason every dime they get, they're manipulating men who has the resources through sex to alter their bodies so they can appear to be goddess when they're not. So once again, sex is the nucleus behind this BBL evolution that has plagued the world now. And when you see it, most of the people that you see that's getting the surgery done, yeah, there's Caucasian, and I haven't seen a lot of Asians. It's mostly Black women and Hispanic women. Okay, so the women know they don't have the resources to go and get this heavenly body creation. So what do? They use what God has given them, and that's a sexual tool, a part of their anatomy, which we call the vagina, to manipulate and influence men to invest in their redevelopment. And I'm not talking about mentally or psychologically, I'm talking about physically. Okay, so is sex power? Of course, it's power. If you go back through history, when you talk about people in the Bible, when you talk about Alexander the Great, when you talk about Caesar, all these men had women behind them that influenced them through sex. So let's fast forward some. Okay, a lot of you have similar backgrounds to me. You come from the streets, or you've been associated with the streets, or your family, someone in your family has. Okay. So how many times have we often heard of men losing their life based on the influence of sex through a female? Give you an example. If you got rival gangs and you got this woman who has this power because she has the look, she has the reputation. Here's a guy on the other side of the fence. So I'm gonna use myself for example. I manipulate this female as Satan did Eve. Now I want to kill this dude. Okay, so I'm gonna manipulate her to go and have sex with this guy, trick him into my neighborhood, even though he know this is a danger zone. But because he's so swayed by the thought of having sex with this female through manipulation, that he's going to risk his life. And we all know how the story always ends. Okay? So, as a result of that, this man loses his life based on what? Sex. So, do men do the same thing? Of course they do. Women, I hear women say all the time, oh, he got some good dick. If that ain't some of the most ridiculous shit I've ever heard, if the dick or the pussy was so good, why doesn't it have a USDA stamp on it and sold in the supermarkets? It's just a moment gratification, but you have to have the ability to have that discernment to know that. Granted, sex is one of the most pleasurable things known to man or woman today. And I've always said and always will say that if God created anything better than sex, he kept it for himself. And I'm not saying that as no disrespect or any slander towards God. So we live in a day and era where women understand this. Men understand this. And I know some of you that's literary buffs like myself that read a lot, but they I think his name was Michael Belson or something like that. He wrote the book called The Maintenance Man. So some of you may be familiar with this book. I had the opportunity to read this book years ago, and to just give you an idea, summation about the book. The Maintenance Man was a guy who's basically he used the terminology the maintenance man because the title from gigolo had evolved to what he wanted to say, call himself as the maintenance man. So what he did was he was basically a gigolo. He sold sex and pleasure to women that could afford his services. And according to the book, even though the book was not based on any truth or reality, this man traveled the world. He was summoned by women from all around the world to bring them that moment, that temporary sexual gratification. So do women do it? Yes, they do. Do men do it? Yes, they do. But we live in a society, as I said before, where women outnumber men. Okay? Women have advanced so far in our society. It's great, particularly Black women. They hold a lot of key positions. We have black vice president. You know, a lot of political and governmental departments are headed by black women, just as well as corporations. So, you know, Oprah Winfrey is the richest black woman in the world. So we know that black women have advanced, okay? And that's good. But we're talking about sex. Now, do I think Oprah Winfrey sex to get her way to the top? No, I don't think so. She's not very attractive. So, you know, we won't even go there. But the thing the thing about it is when you see so many people, and I'm gonna keep using social media, because social media moderators allow this, because the more people they get to tune into their sites, the more money they make through advertising. The laws of business is supply and demand. If there's a great demand for something, people will find a way to supply it. Okay, so these moderators on these social media sites have just allowed these women to get on here half naked and exploit their sexuality. They don't care about the kids having access to these sites, because the kids are not their concern. What they're concerned about is the views, the likes, the dislikes, because this is how they generate and make their money, through advertising. Okay, so women have kind of tuned into this, and they realize that, okay, I can go and get my body done, manipulate this man, and spend $50,000 to get everything from my head to my toes done. Then I put on something tight and go in the gym and fake like I'm working out. And I can guarantee you 99.9% of these women that you see in gym did not acquire those bodies by working out. Now, granted, it is some women that may go in there that may used to be big or trimmed down, may got a little liposuction. That's fine, okay? Because everybody can't endure the same type of pain when it comes to body development. But the majority of women that you see on these social media sites, on these magazines, are women that are too lazy to put forth the effort and the sacrifices to acquire that development, that change that they seek. So what they do is they use sex to manipulate men to invest in their redevelopment in their body structure. If I'm wrong, hey, hit me up. Tell me I'm wrong. Show me I'm wrong. Prove me I'm wrong. You know, so you can't. So sex has always, from the beginning, been a part or a tool used to control or manipulate situations. And it's still done to this day. People, you know, say, I can do with or without sex. They're lying. It takes a very strong person. It's just like turning a person out on crack and putting a whole pound in front of them and say, okay, defy that. Defy that feeling, that craving that you have, and don't mess with that dope right there. See, just like any foreign substance that we put into our body, sex is like a magnet. It's drawn to sex. And in today's society, it don't have to be the opposite gender. In most cases, it's the same gender. But hey, if that floats your boat, then I'll be the wind behind your sail. Okay? But my thing being this, is that we have to understand how powerful sex is, and how people have willed and twisted sex to control a lot of things in this world. You know, give you an example, and I'm gonna talk about the men for a minute, since a lot of people have texted me and said I never say anything about the men. Okay, men, a lot of men, based on their physical anatomy, knowing the women don't have, some of the younger women don't have this. They're not there psychologically. So they manipulate them through sex. This is where I believe this terminology came from. Men have good dick. So when they manipulate these women, because they haven't had this experience, they don't have the male figures in their life to school them and tell them, watch out for these pitfalls in life. Usually these are the male, not men, that impregnate women, go off to have multiple babies by other women, and leave these women to fend for themselves. And this is how this femininity, this is how this independence, and this is how we come to this point today where women call themselves modern day women based on the decisions and the manipulation through sex that men created with young women. Hey, my podcast is open. If you can prove me wrong, let's talk about it. Because there's one thing I will not do. I will not get on my podcast and talk about assumptions or hearsay. When I talk about things, I have the facts to back it up. Okay? So now that men have done this to women and pushed them over into this arena, this femininity, this homosexuality, this independence, this lack and desire to be with men. Now they have that mindset now where they want to place all men in the same category. Men ain't shit. They don't do nothing but lie. All they want to do is fuck. Okay. Well, we talked about the pros and cons of men. Let's talk about the pros and cons of women. Okay. If men don't do anything but lie, and all they want to do is fuck, let's go back to the beginning of time, Adam and Eve. So was it the man that first implemented the lie, the rules of deception, the manipulation through sex, or was it the woman? See, because everything has a starting point and it has an ending point. Okay, life has a starting point and then it evolves and then it comes to an end. It's called a 360-degree radius. Okay, so we're back to that point again. Man did not create the arts of deception. That's the reason to this day men cannot do the things that women do when it comes to sexual manipulation. Tell me I'm wrong. I may not be the smartest man in the world, but I have a lot of common sense. And sex is so strong and so addictive. As my cousin said, again, may she rest in peace, that it make people do some of the strangest shit. Women, from your analogy, if the dick is so good, it makes you stay in a toxic and abusive relationship when you know this man's well-being. He don't have your best interest or your children's best interest at hand, but because you're so addicted to his penis, you're willing to compromise your morals and principles. And it's the same thing on the reverse side with men. Man, you just don't know how good it is. Well, it's only obvious it's good because if if you can't get your mind right, and I'm talking about men now, you're allowing this woman to do whatever she wants to do, and she's controlling you based on sex, then that means she controls you based on what's between her legs. So I'm gonna go back up here. I'm gonna stop for a second on that note, and I'm gonna go because my co-host is texting as well as some other people. So let's see. Right is, I think that her having sex with Satan gone over a lot of people's head. I don't think so. People understand what they want to understand and they embrace what they want to embrace. Plain and simple. Going over their heads, I can put it in ghetto language, but I choose not to go there. Eve screwed Satan. He manipulated her and gave her some reptilian penis. so, so let me see. Go back down here. I mean, men always been overly sexualized. Women are just the objects being used. Not true. It's not true. Think about it. Men sexual appetites are displayed more because of our physical anatomies. Women can just camouflage theirs more. If men get a sexual arousal, you can see it. Oftentimes in women, you can't. Women have a stronger dexterity to ward off sexual advancements than men do. That is one of men's biggest weaknesses. Physically, is their sexual desire to interact, or engage with a woman sexually. It's that simple. Women have made their self objects to be used. When you're spending $40, $50, $100,000, as I think you told me, whatever this girl's name, Kay Miller or Kay, whatever her name is, now she's sick and about ready to die, and she's trying to tell all these women, don't go and get these surgeries. That's not the society we live in. And I'm gonna give you an example. We can be at a building, and we know most buildings are square, and you got a sniper around the corner, people laying all out in the streets, and here come people down the street. What you stopping for? Hey, somebody's around there sniping. You're gonna have some asshole, some wannabe brave guy or girl that say, well, okay, but that's them. I'm still gonna go out here. Boom, get domed, and it doesn't stop anything. Because people believe what they want to believe. It's just that simple. But men do not sexualize women or use women. Women choose to be that way. Now, you have situations where women are kidnapped and forced into sexual slavery. We're not talking about that. We're talking about women that openly agree and volunteer to be with these men. You got more young prostitutes or women trying to prostitute today based on men. Oh, my baby's daddy want me to go and sell my body. That's got to be the dumbest shit I ever heard. How do you demoralize yourself based on some dude's dick supposed to be good? Probably 90% of the women out here prostituting today, however they're doing it on a small scale or a large scale, is based on their own desire, not that of a man's. I'm not going to buy into that. Let's see. Men have become so sexualized that they had become women. I don't understand that one. Women who lack self-worth do become stigmatized a lot quicker, and does take them more time to recover or escape a toxic relationship. Okay, let me address that. Okay, when you say, now I'm reading from the comment section for those of you that may be watching, right? When you say stigmatized, it just reinforces what I just said. When women have this ideology to believe that a man has good dick. No, what a man has done is found a way to stimulate you through sexual intercourse. That's all that is, and manipulate you. Okay. So with that being said, these women choose to have unprotected sex. They choose to bring into this world children that they can't afford. It's a sad situation, because when you bring them, this is just my opinion. Now, I'm not putting anybody down, because children are a blessing. Okay. I just recently had a daughter. Okay. I'm 61 years old. My daughter will be 1 year old in a couple of weeks. Okay. So I'm including myself. So please understand this. But in a lot of cases, women sit up because they're digmatized, as you put it, and they have these children. And then as they come to the realization, as you say, they mature, they come to that maturity level, then they realize I'm stuck with multiple children by multiple men that don't even want to engage in these children's life. Now I'm forced to become independent. I'm forced to become a part of a feminist movement. I'm forced to take on a modern day woman title in order to compete in this world, in order to also bring up my children and rear them to the best of my ability. So do the men play a part in this? Of course they do. But again, it's based on the choices that's given to the women. So you can't always say it's the men. Because men are not just going out here raping women, impregnating them, having multiple children by them, and still walking the streets. The law forbids that. So if we want to make changes, and I say we, the males have to step up and start being men, and you women have to start closing your legs. It's that simple. You have to value yourself, as you said earlier, more to know if you're going to get in this is not going to be a recreational playground for you. Okay? Because with this comes great responsibility. And that means you graduating from a male to a man, wanting to come from a lover to a father, to a husband, a provider, a protector. If you're not willing to do that, you can't play in this playground. It's just that simple. There's no reason in the world for women to be having children out of wedlock where they're forced to get on welfare. And I'm gonna give kudos to my cousin Stacy. Thank you, Stacy, for tuning in, because you did a marvelous job. You are the epitome of mothers that didn't get help from your children's father. You raised your kids, got them off to college. They're living good lives now. They're not in gangs. They're not prostitutes. And you only got a boy and a girl. So there is good mothers that can raise kids by themselves, and men, young males to be men. My hat go off to you. I love you because you are a prime example of what a real woman is. You didn't get a chance to get the luxuries of welfare or state help, things like that. You had to bust your ass. And it paid off. Okay? And so I'm going to use you as an example that women have to start saying no. If men are not going to marry you, and I would put something, a prenuptial. Okay, you cannot leave this fucking relationship, dude, until our kids are up in college or out the house. If you do, you sign this prenuptial, I got to have half what you got. If you ain't got nothing, I want your ass to go to prison. Plain and simple. That'll make these dudes start thinking you either gonna start using protection, or you gonna be up in that bathroom with some grease or some lotion. But you're not going to have mothers running around here struggling because you want to put another notch on your belt and brag to your partner, oh, yeah, man, you know, I knocked that shit out. I knocked the back out of it. Okay, well, you knocked the back out of it, but you got little Susie over there and little Marcos, and mom is struggling to pay the bills, and they have no guidance. So what happens in most cases? They become byproducts of their environment. They usually end up getting into gangs, drugs, or prostitution, or some type of crime. Statistics prove this. And it's happened more in the Black community than it is anywhere else. So sex, back to sex, okay? We all love it. It's aphrodisiac. It's so pleasurable. So pleasurable. You can't even put a definition on it. You know, it makes some of you women scream. It makes a lot of us men shiver. So however you choose to define it, it's a factual thing. It's a part of life. And it's one of those pleasures that mostly everybody that live life will embrace at one time or another. But we have to start using it responsibly. Okay? My situation was not done responsibly, but I take accountability for it. I can honestly say, I don't like my daughter's mother because she's ignorant. She's very combative. She's very ignorant. She don't want to listen. You know, and every time she gets on the phone, she just wants to challenge me. So I come to this conclusion right here. Block you out. Focus on my daughter. Because you can't do anything to me. Nothing. But I'm not going to be like most men and walk away from my responsibility from my daughter because she didn't ask to be here. Had I been responsible and put on a Jimmy, then she would still be in my loins. So my suggestion go out to all of you to do the same thing. It's how I don't understand what you mean by it's. I understand its nature, but I don't understand the part where you're saying it's how we. Let me put this up on the screen so people can see this. Okay, whenever people comment, I'm gonna put this up on the screen so you can see it. Okay. We only have a few more minutes, and then we're gonna bring this to a close. Sex is how we all got here. That's all I'm saying. Okay. I didn't understand what you meant by that. So let me piggyback off that, if I may. Sex is a natural part of life, but I'm not talking about the natural aspect of it. I'm talking about how it's being utilized for all the wrong purposes. How we're having children beyond leaps and bounds, and we're bringing them into this world in undesirable situations. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. If a man, give you an example, we're going to use China for example. China has a system in place that when young women come to their to that development where they come on their menstrual cycle, by law, their mothers have to take them and get an implant placed in them so they can have all the sex they want. But until they can show the government that they're mature and they're financially able and capable of bringing a child into this world, they're not allowed that privilege. And I think America should do the same thing. We're so caught up on this Constitution shit that our so-called forefathers incorporated. These people were fucking slave owners and bureaucrats. They didn't care about the masses. They cared about what suited them at that present time. And we still carry on that bullshit ass tradition. That's the reason so many black women are in the situations that they're in, manipulated by these males that stigmatize them with their dicks and or whatever you want to call it, and they're bringing children into this world without the support that they need to nourish these children. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so with that being said, hey, this platform is for entertainment, based on my opinions and what look facts I have. I'm not Einstein, Socrates, or Aristotle. Okay, I'm not a philosopher. I don't know everything, but the things that I do know, I'm willing to share. And I can honestly say this: that we no hen. No, let me put this up on the screen. No, I'm not asking for calmness. I'm not suggesting calmness. I'm just saying that I think it's a good idea where we can stabilize a lot of this stuff by women not having children out of wedlock, okay, and men being responsible. Because if you want to impregnate a woman, you got to show your support and that you're going to be there for that child through the course of their life until they graduate from your household. We don't have anything like that in America. That's the reason you have so many women that raising these children without a father. And then when they go out and try to get a helpmate, it's usually some wannabe thug, gangster pimp that all he want to do is pound, smoke, drink, and play video games, because that's the world that we have evolved to. So now she's in a catch-22 situation again. The original father's gone. She's impregnated again by another guy that's not doing anything or contributing anything to the conducive to her well-being. So now it pushes her in a whole different category, puts her on a whole nother playing field. Now she's embracing this feminist ideology. Now she has to be independent. She's forced to, based on her decision and the decision of these males that she chose to engage with. Yes, her choice. Now she's placed in a category by society, and she's considered a modern day woman. So with this title or these titles, she's frowned upon. Why? Because now she's believed to be a man hater. So I understand the whole monopoly of this thing. A lot of people don't. I see the bigger picture. So I can't just fault Black women, because society created this pitfall. They designed it. They took the majority. They created all these unnecessary laws. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm not a scientist, okay? But cocaine is the same no matter how you cook it or cut it. But because Blacks came up with an ingenious way to add baking soda to it, not enhance the chemical, because baking soda does not enhance anything. Okay, basically, baking soda has a cleansing property to it, not an enhancement. So it actually takes away. But when Blacks found a way to bring about this creativity and say, my mind is going in 1,000 different places, so y'all got to excuse me. And say, okay, well, I can add a little baking soda to this, cook this up in some water, boom, chop it up. Now I can hold on to my creativity. I can manage it better. It's not in the powder. I don't have to worry about it busting in my pocket, dissolving. So what did society do? They went in and lobbied and created laws, and you know this, Indian, because you've been in politics. They created laws to say, because it's directed towards the minorities, the Black and Hispanics, that was really selling and pushing crack cocaine, because it was a means to elevate our families up out of poverty. Okay, I'm gonna get to that. Let me finish this before I lose my thought. So what they did is, when they created this laws, they said, well, okay, for crack cocaine, you get caught with a certain amount, you get a life sentence. You get 40, 50 years. But now here's a white man that can get caught with an ounce of cocaine powder, the same ounce, but one is made up with baking soda, the other one is just natural with the B12 or whatever added it's got in it from the person that sold it to them. They both get caught. They both go through the same judicial system. One get life and the other one get drug court. So the system is designed to take Black men out of the workforce, to take us out of the equation entirely. Okay, that's just the way the system is. I was a victim of that system by choice. Okay, so let me put your thing up here, Henny. The housing authority will not let the father live with their family. That is why a lot of black males couldn't help their kids. Okay, let me say this, Hen. I agree with you. My phone is breaking up. Okay. I'm gonna say this, okay, because I'm a product of living in the housing authorities at some point in my life, just like you were. We grew up together. You know, here's the thing: the housing authorities set up this program to take the fathers out of the family. We understand that, but had the fathers been doing their due diligence, they would have never had to have their women in house. Granted, society has always been set up where Caucasian men make more money than black men. But when we got past that point, just like your family did, we moved out of housing, okay, moved into a house, and then we evolved as the time did. So we can't buy into a system that we know is not designed or that's not conducive to the betterment of the black family or the black community. See, you know a little bit more about this stuff because you're in that arena. You're a community active, something I used to participate in that I no longer participate in. But I still have the knowledge through my research and watching TV. I don't even watch the news. Just so you know, I haven't watched the news in probably over 20 years because they never show anything good about black people. It's always something negative. The whole perspective of media is to picture black people in a negative way. And I'm gonna give you a prime example. I live in a gated community, a retirement community, okay? And I'm not even a senior citizen yet, even at 61. But when I choose to walk the neighborhood, or my son choose to walk the neighborhood, him and his girlfriend, we're still frowned upon as though, what are you niggers doing here? And I'm reminded, Hen, I'm gonna share this with you. I moved over in this community 6 years ago. Okay. My son was 13 years old. 13 years old. And I remember my son coming to me before he got into Chaparral because he was going to a middle school. And he asked me one day, he said, "Dad, why every time I speak to these white people, they just look at me and they don't speak back?" And I had to explain to him, with all that was in me, son, you can't worry about stuff like that. Because when people act like that, that's their ignorance, that's their law, because they don't know what quality you can bring to their life. But because they embrace this ideology that they're different from us, don't worry about it. If you speak and they don't speak back, don't speak to them again. And I've lived in this neighborhood, like I said, for 6 years. And I don't even know the majority of my neighbors. And when I see them, I don't even speak to them because I know how they see me. But here's the thing. I've been in a lot of them's homes to do things, handyman stuff, and they got some mediocre table, sofa, a bed with no headboard and none of this stuff. But you're looking down at me and I'm living better than you and we're living in the same neighborhood. So because I'm older, I understand it. My son has grown to understand that now. So when he goes through the neighborhood or ride his scooter or drive the car, he's no longer influenced or distracted by these people's fear, because that's all it is. It's fear. Okay. And I know we've kind of got off the subject but it's fine. Okay. It's fine. Because certain things need to be talked about. But I'm glad he's come to that maturity to understand, man, that you can't worry about these Asian people over here or these white people over here or these Hispanic people over here, because if they don't like you, it's their loss. Plain and simple. Okay? So back to the subject at hand. We know society was never geared in America for black people. It was never designed or constituted for Black people to ever excel in this society that they created. Now, I'm gonna show you something. Certain people wanted to run from European rule, okay? Let's talk about it. Europe have a king and a queen, okay? They have what's called a parliament. Now, let's think about the people that came to America to start this new democracy. We don't have a king and queen. We just modern dated. We have a president and a first lady. Same thing. Have the same title, same privileges. Okay. We don't have a parliament. We have Congress and a Senate, which is the same thing. So all the things that we ran from, it was a plight to throw the world off to believe that we were running from a certain, or they were running from, because I'm not European, was running from a certain oppression to start a new democracy when all they did was came here to implement a sister system based on a mother system. So when they formulated these rules and these laws that they hire these crooked ass police in the military that make up probably 70% of Blacks to enforce this Constitution that we know counts us out. Someone once said the Constitution means to count Black people out. How often do we have to fight for rights that the Constitution say we have? But you get people like Clarence Thomas that a white man put in office, appointed to the Supreme Court, and anything that derives from the Black community, he shoots down. So we have always been our own worst enemy. We've joined the plight to destroy the Black culture. And it goes way back from Africa. Okay? They sick the white woman on the white man. Okay? This is how the pimping started. Yeah, even though Black pimps had Black women, oh, I got me a white hoe. But see, little did they know at that time is that the white girl was just designed to infiltrate your circle to let the white man know how to dethrone you. Okay, let's put this up here and see what you're saying. Europeans will make white America hate Black Americans. And at the same time, Europeans also trying to wipe out white Americans also. Well, as true as that may be, we're still associated with them. You know, you have a lot of Blacks, I have family members that have denounced their Americanship to go over to these European countries. Okay, so the Western culture derived from everything from the European culture. And even though we have a somewhat different belief system now today, because we're kind of like standing on our own, Europe follows America when it comes to politics and stuff like that, but we still follow them. You know, and yes, Europe wants America back. They want to control America, which that's never going to happen, because you have too many people here that think different than Europe, that's never been associated with Europe, don't know anything, never studied Europe, even though they taught it in schools and mandated it. People are not embracing that European ideology. And see, that's the reason America is one of the strongest nations in the world, because almost every household owns 3 to 4 weapons. And they cannot create a law to come in and take people's right under the second Constitution. I think it's the Second Amendment, for every American to have the right to bear arms. America is not going to let law enforcement come in their homes and deprive them a way to protect their families. So they come up with all these miscellaneous laws. Europe can do all they want, join all these NATO forces and all this, and try to slander America, but America will always be the strongest nation in the world, because our people will not accept the government controlling us, not solely. Yeah, they have these laws in place that protect the rich. It's not helping us really, you know, because if Yeah, you're right. This is our country because we built it. We were here before Christopher Columbus sailed here. We were already here established with Native Americans before Christopher Columbus came here. But see, history would not be told like that in America. Why? Because they want and will always want people to believe that Europeans or Caucasian are the epitome of civilization when we already know that Europeans was the last one to enter the civilized race because they come from the Caucasus Mountain. This is what determines their pigmentation. That's the reason when they get in the sun, they burn. We come from a climate where we have the melanin that God blessed us with, where we can endure sun and heat. They can't. So who's making the suntan places rich? It's surely ain't black people. So we understand all this, but how many people are going to jump on board to understand this? See, I'm not only knowledgeable in relationships, I'm knowledgeable in government and history too. And whenever, hen, I extend this courtesy to you whenever you want to sit down for lunch or something, sit down, toss it up, you my family, man, I'm willing to do it with you, okay? So we're over our time, and I just want to thank everybody, again, we kind of got off the subject, and that's okay. We got new people that have joined us. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in, taking time out your special days. I know your time is precious, for joining us, sharing with my opinions. Again, my opinions are only my opinions. I'm not trying to sway anybody to believe the way I believe or think the way I think. I only share my opinions based on my knowledge and my experience of life. It's that plain and that simple. I will not use my podcast to slander or demean or degrade anybody. It's only my opinion, and I will always try to keep my opinions as subtle as possible. So at any time I say anything that John Hanson, the first president of the United States, he is black. Well, I didn't know that. I thought it was George Washington, but anyhow, we'll get into that later. Let me close out here. Again, if you feel, whether it's in Vegas, California, Oregon, back east, that I'm saying anything that you feel is inappropriate, please do not disrespect me. You're entitled to your opinion. Please inbox me like the lady did from somewhere back east. She said something, got me riled up. I said something. I won't do that anymore because I understand that everybody's not going to agree to what I'm doing. This podcast was designed and will continue and remain to be a podcast based on entertainment, knowledge, and encouragement. That is what this platform is designed. If you want drama and reality show drama and entertainment, you gotta go somewhere else for that. That's not what this is for. Again, let me incorporate this before I bring this to a close. Me and my co-host. Okay. Well, let me say this before I do that. I extend this invitation to you, Hen, and anybody else out there watching. We're trying to create a panel. I have a spot for 9 more people. Okay. So we want to create a panel so we can talk about everything, not just relationships. Okay. So if you're willing to be on that panel, I extend that courtesy to you. Hit me up later. You have my phone number. And I'll place you on the panel and we'll go from there. Okay. Again, in closing, we decided to incorporate, since this podcast was started and based upon relationships, we're going to incorporate like a dating segment to it. So both women and men can get on here and talk to each other and shoot their shot or whatever. It's going to be based off the theory of the Pineapple Show, where a black sister hosts this show. Got a lot of popularity. I think she started off as an Instagram model, and she brought all her followers with her, and that's what made her so popular. I don't believe that she's a good host as far as articulating her thoughts. But I'm not trying to criticize either because she has the numbers and she's making the money. So she's doing something good. So again, she's using what she got to influence, to get what she wants. So that's fine and dandy. So we're going to kind of piggyback off what she's doing. and incorporate that. So it's something new. And also, what I'm gonna do coming up, another thing that I have on the burner is on Saturday nights, because a lot of people don't work Saturdays. They they're off on the weekends, and they do they go to work during the weekdays. I want to start like a show where people can call in, okay? And it's basically just like, it's going to be called, it's not going to be called Bridging the Gap. It's going to be called, I'm not going to tell you what it's going to be called yet. But it's going to be like, not a talk show, but you can call in and send a shout out. And we're just going to play music all night, and we're going to talk in the wee hours of night. So it'll start at midnight and probably go to about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, so people that's up, can't sleep, you know, got a lot of thoughts in their minds, their significant others incarcerated in the hospital, no matter what's going on in their life, they have somebody to talk to in the wee hours of the night. So a lot of times I won't be able to host this show because of my work schedule. So I'll try to find somebody that can host it with me, or set it up where at a certain time it just goes on, play music. You can call in, and when your call-ins come in, they're transported over the air so people can hear it. It'll seem like I'm there, but I won't be there. It's kind of the same thing Steve Harvey and a lot of these big names do. You know, they're not really there on those morning shows and stuff. It's all pre-recorded and edited. Okay, so with that being said, again, I'm bringing this to a close. I thank you all for participating, for supporting me. You know, it touches my heart, you know, because I want this thing to be good. I want it to be positive. I want it to be entertaining. You know, I want to encourage people, whether it's men or women, you know, and sometimes we may get off the subject, and that's okay, because even if we do get off the subject, it's still positive, okay, and encouraging. A lot of people out here, Hen, you're my senior. I grew up under you. You know, I try to, and I'm just giving you accolades. You know, you were one of the most elite, outstanding athletes to grow up in this city. You know, and growing up, before I started making bad decisions, I tried to pattern my life after you at a young man. You know, to run track and play football, because you were that guy. You know, and we grew up in the same neighborhood, man, and you did it like no other, man. And I'm proud of you. My hat go off to you. I salute you, and I thank you, man, for even supporting me, for being a part of this. This is an honor and a privilege to even have you on board. So with that being said, everybody, please be safe out there. Have a pleasant night. I love you and thank you. God bless you. Peace. See you tomorrow.